You.
All right. As people are joining, it's just wait. If you're joining just now, we're just waiting for the attendees to join into the event and we will get started. Okay. As those come in, welcome everyone. I'm Michael Palmer. I'm the host of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. We have a very special webinar for you today. And I absolutely love this title of this webinar. If you're looking to become more than just a bookkeeper and grow professionally in this industry and put beautiful smiles on your faces, as we were talking about with Tanya just prior to getting started, you really are in for a treat today. Our friend and LiveFlow co-founder Anita Koimur is here. She will interview Cloud Business Services founder Tanya Hilts. And I'm excited for this conversation, and I hope all of you are as well. And I am going to hand it over to Tanya and Anita. And I look forward to the presentation. If you have questions, of course, Q&A or the chat. And Anita, Tanya, welcome.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you so much, Michael. Happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Anita. I'm a co-founder of LiveFlow. This is a platform that allows you to automate manual reporting. Tanya Hilts is our beloved customer and a very active user. I met Tanya a week ago at Scaling New Heights in person for the first time, and that was amazing. Tanya has an insane amount of energy, and we had a really good time chatting together, laughing and talking about the upcoming webinar. So really excited to bring Tanya here, ask a lot of questions. Please, as mentioned, we are more than happy to answer your questions as well. Just throw them in the comment section here. Tanya, over to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Anita. Yes, the only regret that I have is that we didn't have enough time together. And of course, I lost my voice. So I spent all day yesterday barely talking at all so that I could have a good voice for today. And for those of you, some may know of me, some may not. I'm a very open person. So no question is taboo. So just feel free to ask anything. And there's no question that I haven't felt comfortable answering. So as we go through, just pop it up. And yeah, very happy to be here. And yeah, a LiveFlow I've been working with probably about 6 months, I think, Anita, right? About 6 months with LiveFlow. Yeah. And I'm not using it as much as I would love to because we were focusing on the conference, and in about another week, I get to go back, and then Anita's going to get a bunch of stuff from me on customizing. But it's a great product, which is really, really helping to take our bookkeeping services, to the next level with a lot of clients.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
no, thank you.
Yeah, I would love to learn from you because I've heard like the same questions here and there, and clearly you made it to the top of the profession. So please tell us about yourself and tell us your personal story, how you became a bookkeeper.
Perfect. Well, thank you. So my story may resonate with a lot of you. I do not have a classroom education. So it is very, it's different. I felt for a lot of years, I felt that I wasn't adequate enough and that I had to work harder to prove myself because I didn't have the classroom education. So my background is customer service. I spent 17 years in insurance. In 1997, I actually worked, I ran an office that had a Liberty tax office in it. So I had to learn about taxes. And then when I had my daughter 20 years ago, my husband just says, well, you already know this. I said, I don't want her to be in daycare. He said, so why don't you just start a tax business? And, I did that for a few years until I was able to get to the point where I wasn't as involved and she didn't need me as much. And maybe 13 years ago is when I officially launched into bookkeeping. I taught people how to bookkeep. And so in the last 12 years, I guess when I look at what I've done in the last 12 years, it's kind of mind blowing. It's, I've been 5 years in a row top 100 Pro Advisor. I was 2020, I was top Canadian Pro Advisor. I've been with CBB Canada Professional Leader of the Year 2019. I want to say 2018 into its Global Firm of the Future. And I've done all of this without a classroom education. So
that's very impressive.
It's pretty crazy, but yeah, I felt I had more to prove. So I studied hard. I studied really hard. It was all self-taught, self-study. I do have a diploma up on my wall. I'll just kind of turn it and show it. But I'll tell you, oh, you can't really see it that well, but it is a diploma with honors in bookkeeping, but it wasn't a real, I call it a real college. I did it because, again, I felt that people were looking down on me in the industry because I felt that everybody I surrounded myself with had the classroom education, had those diplomas, and had everything. And so I felt I had more to prove. That's why I went through and got my CPB quicker and did all of this because I felt I had a lot to make up for. And what I've learned is that it is the individual, regardless of the route that you take to get here, whether it be classroom or whether you do it yourself, it is the individual. Are your morals, your values, your willingness to learn? That's what it's really, really focused on, I think.
But before you acquired all of this accolades and stuff, how did you get your first 10 clients? Who were those people?
So
how?
I, just like most of us, are probably extremely frugal, shall we say. I like to find that balance of quality and quantity, but if I have to give on one, I will never give on quality. And that's my background from customer service, is that don't give up on the quality. I actually found my very first client on Kijiji, which is for those of you in the States, is very much like Craigslist. That was really all that was available at the time on my bookkeeping client. I had already had many tax clients, and the same thing when I found my tax clients, what I did is I said, who do I want to target? And who do I think will give the best word of mouth? And that actually is, believe it or not, from the tax side, was college students. Where do the college students congregate? A lot of them went to the laundromats to do their own laundry. So I would put up advertising at the laundromats, and it was ask how your return can be free. So for every person they referred over, they got $25 back or $25 off their return. So I had one person that had never paid me a penny, and she referred me over about 30 people, and she never paid a penny in all of those years. Now, we did give up the tax side of our business a few years ago, but again, I went out to Kijiji, and what made me different, because there's a lot of people advertising their services on Kijiji, and my first 3 came from that, directly from Kijiji. And what made it different is I had a website. I had a professional website. I didn't just put it out there. I wanted to have something to back up my professionalism. And the first 3 said the reason they went with me is because those that they found on there did not have professional looking websites, and I did.
Can I ask you here? So what is that, a professional website? Like, how should it look like so people trust you?
So I just use Wix.com. So I use, again, I don't have it professionally, it wasn't professionally designed, but what I did is I went around and I like to look for inspiration. I'm not an ideas person in the fact that I can come up with these great ideas. I need to look for something. And then once I get inspired, I can run with it. So what I thought is, okay, let's go take a look at some of these larger bookkeeping or accounting firms that have money to spend and that are paying a professional. Let's go in and let's look at the trends. And let me see what I like and what I don't like. So I never, ever copied, but I looked for inspiration. And if I saw something I liked, so right now, there's a lot of white space on webinars, and I still do this, or on websites. And I still do this now. I will go out and I will look at the big firms, or, people that are, my competitors in the area, although I don't believe we're all truly competitors. I believe in competition. We should all work together. But I do, and I go look for that. And I see what are the trends. If the trend says a lot of white space, then I go in and I'll redesign my website with a lot of white space. If the trends happen to be a lot of information, which it was at the time that I first started my website, there was a lot of information so that people could go look. There were like a lot of FAQs or whatnot, and everything was around showing my knowledge, showing, maybe the expertise that I had. I had nothing about education in there. So if I didn't want them to ask about, what college did you come from, that was out, which is why I went forth and got my CPB designation. And I now have my AIA. So CPB is my certified professional bookkeeper. And my AIA is an advanced, or sorry. Oh my gosh, it's through Jeannie Whitehouse. I'm drawing a total blank here. I helped her actually come up with the name of it. An impact AIA, something impactful advisor. I've completely drawn my blank on it now. I'm so sorry, guys. I guess this is what happens when we just come back from a conference. Anyway, accredited impactful advisor. That's it. Accredited impactful advisor. But again, so I put on there what I wanted people to ask. I avoided what I didn't want people to ask. I focused on, again, who is my client? Who's my ideal client? My ideal client, we like service businesses. So I took some pictures a couple of years ago of some of our actual clients, which were here. We had some hairdressers, we had some this. So I went and looked for pictures that related to those types of clients, kind of put them up there. I don't want tire kickers. I know what my minimum price is. So I put my minimum price on there starting from. If somebody thinks that that price is too high, I don't want them to waste their time or waste my time. So again, it's a big picture that you've just got to look at basically everything, because these days, your website is your business card, and you have about 2 minutes or less to give people the information you want. So what are the important things that you want people to see and to know about you and about your firm? So one thing, for example, we have my dog, Rosie. She is not here with us right now. She's over in the other room following my husband around, but I have a dog. My office is at home. And so we do have a separate entrance for clients to come in. But if somebody doesn't like dogs, I don't want them to come in here. If somebody hears the dog barking in the background, I don't want them to say, oh, that's unprofessional. So she's on there as our office manager. And it puts a little bit of personality to us too. And I think, oh, great, this isn't a stuffy firm. This is a firm of people that have personality. And so it's, again, what do you want people to know?
Yeah, got it. And right now, whom do you target? Like if I go to your website right now, who is your ideal client, and how do they realize that they want to work with you?
So on the bookkeeping side of things, our ideal client is, again, service businesses, people that again, I have my from on there. I do want to, we're getting more into consulting. I want people to see that we are not just a bookkeeping firm. One thing that I do want everybody here, I'm going to give you a little bit of homework, and I know you're like, homework? I came to this webinar not for homework, but just go to Wikipedia, and I want you to Google virtual CFO. And the definition of a virtual CFO is what I do. It is what a lot of us either do or have the ability to do. And so I have a lot of that on there. I want to do the consulting with the client. So the consulting is on there. Again, I want them to see what we can do, that we can train them, we can work with them. It's more of a partnership. So that's how I've put my services in there. We do have bookkeeping services and payroll services, but we have the consulting services. We have virtual CFO services. Yeah, and I want them to see that and to know that.
It's a big trend. And I think exactly the combination of words like virtual CFO or fractional CFO does make sense. And people expect you to be an advisor. I think this is very important.
Exactly. Now I have virtual CFO, I have consulting services, because some people see them as different. 3-4 years ago, I would not have put virtual CFO because I didn't feel that I was there yet, but I was still putting advisory services on there and consulting services.
What exactly happened that you decided to add this phrase that you're a virtual CFO? What was the moment?
And it's actually really funny where inspiration comes from, because I actually do work with other bookkeepers and accounting professionals. And one of them called me up and said, Tanya, what is the definition of a virtual CFO? And I said, that's a great idea. Let's Google it and see what happens. And when I Googled it and saw that came up, that is now a big part of the training that I use when I work with other, with other bookkeepers, because they need to see that this is there. The definition is what we do. It's at the very minimum, we are responsible for the day-to-day transactions. we're responsible for advising the clients. And one thing that I want to say is advising. When I first came in to this and this new world, of cloud, working in the cloud and the advising, I felt, because of what a lot of the apps were saying at the time, that I never really could be a true advisor, because it was all about cash flow and it was all about apps. And that's not what it's about. It's about answering questions, pointing somebody in the right direction, using tools like LiveFlow to help interpret the data. So the one thing that I love about LiveFlow and interpreting the data, we can set the data up the way the client wants it. And I think Anita might get into a little bit more of that later, but that's what I really like about it. When you look at all these other cash flow apps, the reports are there and everything. It was intimidating to me. And I thought, I can't do this. And it was looking at that definition of virtual CFO really changed my mindset and said, you know what? I do all of this. I need to change my mindset. I need to change the tools I'm using. And then I just need to make sure that, again, I'm giving the clients that information in a way that they can understand it, in a way that they can appreciate it and value it, not just an out of the box. And that's what I love about LiveFlow. You guys aren't just out of the box. Here is this, and use it exactly as that. It is so customizable that we can do this, and it helps truly build the confidence in the clients of what we can offer.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. So it's actually my next question. So for those bookkeepers who lack confidence to say that they are more than just bookkeepers, what advice can you give apart from applying like the most modern technologies? Is there something else that people can do to change their mindset?
I truly believe mindset has to do with your environment. If clients tell you, oh, you're just data entry, you're just a bookkeeper, no, that's what you're going to believe. If you are associating with other people that say, no, we're just data entry, we're just a bookkeeper, you're going to believe that. Change your surroundings. Maybe that means changing your clients and finding clients who value what you have to offer. And your colleagues, make your colleagues. And this is one thing that the successful, bookkeeper does, is tries to help do that. It gives you community, and community was a large part with it for me. It was a community and the people I was associating with. I try to associate with people that are smarter than myself, first off, but then there's also a mix. So I do have some people that have more confidence than myself within my mix. And then there's some people that don't, because that's just, again, when I think that's just very natural. But if you're all open and honest and trying to get better together, and this is the one thing that I'm very, very passionate about as an industry, we need to support each other. Because if 50% of our industry is going around saying we're just a bookkeeper, well, then that's what clients are going to think. We cannot change clients' minds. So this is where we all need to work together. And every person who changes a client's mind is better for the industry, which makes it better for the next person or the person that doesn't yet have that confidence. So we all need to work together to do that, to change people's mindsets, because that's not what we do anymore with having access to real-time data. And it's funny, one of my clients, and this was when I truly, truly realized what we were doing. When I was filling out my application, actually for the Firm of the Future in 2018, and for those of you who know what that was, the contest, and saw that, it is actually that client that was there with me that I'm discussing on here. And when I started with her, she's been through 5 accountants. It's been very legitimate reasons why she's changed with each accountant in the 12 years that she's been with me. And she is my first client. She was that one from Kijiji. And what happened was, she used to call the accountant and ask the accountant information. She called me and she said to me, Tanya, if I want to rent out this room to somebody else to do these services in, what's my break-even point? What should I be looking at? How should I structure this in an agreement? And I was able to look everything up, answer all of her questions, let her know, put them on a pad agreement, collect the money up front, don't wait until afterwards. All of these things that you hear about us that we're told to do, I passed all of that information along to her. Now, she didn't end up renting out the room because that person did not want to pay up front. They wanted to be billed afterwards. And unfortunately, they had a reputation of not paying. So it didn't go forth. But I said to her, I said, Holly, I said, I want to know, why did you call me and not the accountant? You normally would have called the accountant. And she had to think about it for a minute. And she says, Tanya, she says, it's just, you always have the answers. You always know either what the answer is or where to find it. And she knew I could go in and her books were done weekly. I could go in and tell her what her break-even point was right up to last week. And it was then that it really clued into me. This is what I want to do. This is being more of an advisor. And then the second time, excuse me, that I think it really made a difference was through COVID. A lot of people took a reactive response to COVID. I, like everybody, I had a breakdown, like I'm sure all of you did, and many people you know did. I sat down, had a full-on breakdown, and I got up and I said, okay, I can't let this happen, because I was worried about my clients. I was worried about if I lose my clients, then I have to lay off some of my team. And I'm related to at least one of my team member, and they do a really good job. And then that means no job for me. And then I'm going to have to start all over. And I'm high risk for COVID. And all of these things just were coming at me. And I woke up the next day, that was a Thursday, and that was 1 week after our shutdown up here in Canada, which was March 18th. I know the shutdown in the States was a little earlier, but I woke up and I said, no, we can't do that. I need to focus proactively. So as of that Friday morning, I started calling all of my clients and working with them. And I spoke to them once a week. How are you? How are you doing? What is the problems that you're feeling right now? How can we help try to change it? So we had clients that basically completely changed their business plans and their business structures to be able to start offering online. I've got one client who was she still does have that part of her business. She's a thrift shop. She actually, sorry, I'm a little bit of wheezing here. Excuse me, allergies acting up as well. So what we did is, in some discussion with her, she did do some sales online, but when they started opening things again, she says, Tanya, what am I going to do? People come in and they touch everything. She says, I'm going to spend so much time and money washing everything and wiping it down that there's no way I'll be profitable. So we put our heads together and we came up with a great idea. And although she is a thrift shop, she is high-end thrift. She goes to antique sales. She looks for things that are very different. So she ended up changing her whole business model to one that, yes, she does have the thrift portion, the thrift shop portion of it, but during the times that we were restricted to the number of people she could have in, she changed it to a celebrity style personal shopping experience. You had to make an appointment. So many people came in. She had the couches set up. She would serve mimosas and little appetizers and bring things out. So people were touching less. So it's kind of like, when you see say yes to the dress or those types of things. That's what they would do. She had a group of people and she ended up making double the money that she did before because she was offering an experience and people were willing to pay for that experience. So that's is amazing. Advisory. And yeah, Shanta says we love a good business pivot. And that's what we can do if we just sit down and talk to the clients and listen and use the knowledge that we have. And it drives me crazy when a lot of people say we can't do that. We can do that. I did it and I didn't even realize I was doing it until after I did it.
Sounds great. Sounds great. I love it. Yeah. So I think we're getting to the question where we talk about like pricing and how we charge people. So at Scale on Your Heights, I attended the masterclass of Ron Baker. He was talking about changing the price from an hourly basis to a subscription basis. So curious to hear your thoughts. Like, how should bookkeepers think about charging low rates versus high rates, and how bookkeepers can understand their worth?
So first off, I love Ron Baker. If you guys ever have a chance to see anything, I mentored under him for a year and he truly made a difference. That was 2017. And he made a huge, huge difference to my mindset as well, too. So he was one of the first ones that started to put the confidence to me. What I've learned from him is, experience is, don't let client. Now, Ron and I kind of agree to disagree on this in the one aspect that he says you need to value price. I don't believe in value pricing. I do believe in right sizing is what I call it. The right client with the right services for the right price. I have an ethical issue with charging somebody more just because they value me more. But that's a me thing. And that's a Ron, the value pricing was no, if somebody's willing to pay more, you charge them more. If somebody can't afford more and is willing to pay less, but because they can't afford it, but you appreciate them, you can still work with that. I don't agree to that model. I agree more with this current subscription price model. But yes, you have to determine your minimum, your walkaway price, and then you have to relate that value to your clients. So when I first started out, my value proposition to the clients was, you guys are too busy during the day. I know you do your bookkeeping in the evening. I'm volunteering at my child's school during the day, so I don't have a traditional 9 to 5 hours. I can, help you in evenings and weekends. That was my value proposition. Now, for people to get that, they do have to pay more to get that. But I think that's the biggest thing, is that if somebody tells you you're just a bookkeeper or you're not worth it, I think they're the wrong client for you. Again, you need to value, and sometimes they need to be told what it is that you do different or why they should value you. You have to educate them on that, because, a lot of the clients still think what we do is all data entry. And, unfortunately, until we change their mind, that's just, that's a reality. So we have to let them know it's not data entry. We can do this. We can do that. We have solutions. We have solutions like LiveFlow that we can help them understand their business and their break-even point, and, to get them the information that they need.
Like, do you have like any trial, or how do you understand that this is the right price based on the value that you will deliver to the client? How will you achieve that?
So I do have a spreadsheet that I actually made up when I was working with Ron Baker, that takes into account the value services that I offer. It takes into account transactions and approximate time. So that is available on my website. I was trying not to try not to do that's $99 Canadian, and I'm trying not to turn this into a commercial. If anybody wants to, those are your training wheels, and there's lots of videos, there's lots of stuff that goes through it. I still use that. I've been using it for years. But it helps me because and there's a lot of tips in there, because I always second guess myself. And so a couple of tips. First off, when you determine your rates, what you're charging. So I know what I charge in value. And and again, all of this is in there. There's videos. You guys can create it yourself online. I basically tell you how, give you step-by-step on my value pricing videos that are on my YouTube channel. So you can go look at that. Again, there's you can just create everything from yourself. Maybe it'll just give you different ideas. But first off, you need to value yourself. You need to determine the value you bring in. Don't let the client negotiate on that. If the client wants to negotiate on services. Don't negotiate on price, because the minute you negotiate on price, you're telling the client you're not worth as much as you think you are. So that's really, really important. Another thing is, so if somebody were to come back to me and say, you know what, I think that's a little expensive, I might say, okay, well, rather than that, there might be something that I built into the price that I thought the client wanted and the client valued that they don't. So again, let's try to negotiate. Maybe if I take that out and there's something else I can put in, whether it be using an app or whether it be just something else that we come up with, and that I can throw in, that maybe that's more valuable to the client. So, it's part of a conversation that we'll ask them, okay, what is it that you're looking for? What is it that you feel that you're missing? And that's part of what we ask up front. We have a very strategic set of questionnaires that goes out to the client. And essentially every client, we kind of almost do a client interview. So when they call in, we only spend about 10 minutes talking to them at first. And then we ask them, if we can go ahead and send them our questionnaires. And so we say to them, well, it'll take about half an hour if we go through it, or you can go through it yourself in about 5 minutes. And that's actually our first test. If the client says, oh, I'll do it with you. Okay, well, we don't have time right now, but that tells me they either don't value my time or they don't value their time. So, or maybe they're not comfortable with technology. Either way, that is not my ideal client. I want a client who values my time, who values their time, and is comfortable with technology. So that's the first thing. Then when we go through, the questions are specifically targeted. And every time we had a wrong client, we determined what made them not a good fit for us, and we would try to find out how we could put that question back in there. So there's a question that goes through, and that we ask clients what is important to them in the role of a bookkeeper: data entry, price, advisory, working with CRA or IRS, accuracy. So if they put data entry is high, chances are they're not an ideal client. If they put price is high, that they're very price sensitive, chances are they're not an ideal client, because I want somebody who's
Very
middle of the
interesting.
road. Yeah, I want somebody who's middle of the road. If they put that accuracy is low, not an ideal client. So again, you sit there and you look at who is it that you want to work with, and that you can put that in there. One question we're thinking of asking, of starting to put in there, is, are they detail oriented? Because we have one client who is going to be an ex-client in 3 days. They don't read their emails. So they've said, we want to communicate by text or by email. We have no problem. We have both options. But then when we put it in there, they say, oh, well, I didn't see that. Well, it was a separate paragraph in the email. I don't want to send one email for every topic to a client. So if you read the first 3 lines of the email and then jump off and don't read the rest of it, I don't want to work with somebody like that. So we're trying to figure out how to get that question in there. But so that's first and foremost. Again, that you've got to figure out again what the value is, what is important to clients, so that again you can negotiate on pricing with that, and know your walk away price. That is huge, because again, if you come back and negotiate on price, and I'm just going to throw at this story, it's going to be a hilarious visual to everybody out there. My grandmother, she loved to barter. I am not a barter. I'm a sticker price person. I'm like, well, they put it there for a reason. So I'm sure that I've overpaid many a time, but we were in Hawaii in 1989, and my grandmother had turned around, and actually there was this bag that she loved, and it was $10 or $20 or whatever it was. And she went up, and they said, nope, this is the price. And she said, well, I'm Canadian. So they came down a little bit. And she says, no. She says, I don't want to pay that. She wanted to pay $5. The woman came down from $10, or sorry, $20, came down to $10. They were $5 apart on a tourist bag. And this is about 10 minutes of negotiating. My grandmother said, nope, that's fine. She says, I don't want it. And she walked away. This bag came flying, like it was just, light canvas bag or whatever. It came flying at my grandmother, hit her in the back of the head.
Oh
and
God.
The woman actually cursed. She says, fine, cursed the bad name. She says, it's yours for $5. What was the lesson from that? My grandmother went back and negotiated everything from that woman and got the price she wanted, because that woman showed she was willing to lower her value. And when I look back now, I was 19. Yes, I was 19 in 89. I had to think about it for a minute, but that was my first lesson. I didn't realize it until about 10 years ago, but that was my first real lesson in valuing yourself. Because what do you think my grandmother did? Every other time she went and talked to somebody, she says, oh, go buy from here, they'll negotiate. Just stick to your ground, they'll negotiate and you'll get it. So that poor woman made no money off us, or hardly anybody else, the 2 weeks that we were there. So again, you need to know your walkaway price. And my walkaway price is always the first price I give. Again, I will negotiate on services. I won't negotiate on price. That the next point to that I want to say that is a really valuable lesson, and I say this in that value pricing webinar, and yes, I will give the website for it as well too. Thank you for the person who asked, but you cannot go into, I don't believe hardly anybody is capable of going in and having that confidence when you give somebody a price without proper preparation. If you would not prepare to go in and speak to a board of directors, like there's no way you'd go in with this big presentation, go into a board of directors or go into a bank without asking for financing, without having your business plan. You need to look at pricing that client or having that pricing conversation the same way, because 100% of the time, and I talk about it all the time, and I talk about confidence, but I will tell you, if I were to price somebody on the spot, pull up my spreadsheet, enter it in and give them that price, even though I know there's that price, if they were to come back and try and negotiate back with me, if I do it just like that, I guarantee you that even I will probably drop and let them talk me into dropping the price. So I never do that. We have a 24-hour window where we sit there and I kind of go through, just like, again, you would to a board meeting. What what are any possible objections this person could have, and what will my responses be for those objections? So that way I am rehearsed, I am prepared, and if none of that happens, no problem. I did a great job on my value conversation. If some of that does happen, I already know what I'm going to say, and I've given myself that confidence. So that is, again, the next biggest thing. Do not ever price on the spot, because you can go away, you can think about everything. And again, think about what are you negotiating, what are you willing to negotiate on? What services can you come up with? And again, it just really, really helps instill that confidence. So that I think is huge as well.
That's great. Thank you. So I feel like you're not really shy just to fire clients if they don't fit. Can you tell us more about it? Like, how do you decide that this is the time to go? And for example, on the opposite side of things, this is the perfect customer. I will always serve them. I will make them happy, etc. Like, how do you divide those?
So, and you're right, I'm not shy about firing clients. I used to be, and it's funny, we just had this conversation at Scaling New Heights with a few people. I was brought up in the school that the customer is always right. You know what? That's not necessarily what I believe now. I was lucky enough that in my previous lives that I had very good bosses who just said, Tanya, you don't get paid enough to put up with garbage. So I've carried that through, and I did feel that I had to please everybody. I'm a people pleaser. Most bookkeepers are people pleasers. And I did feel that I had to please everybody. And so I did put up with a lot at first coming into my business. I thought, oh, I can't fire them. I need this money. I have so much that I have to pay the bills. I'll keep them here until I replace them. And to those people that still have to do that, I say, yes, I get it. If you have to keep them until you replace them, no problem, but just work hard on replacing them. And when I come to basically knowing, the first, I guess, thing is with the client, if myself or any of the team, if when we see them call and see their phone number show up, if I'm not happy to stop what I'm doing and answer, I don't always stop what I'm doing. Sometimes I'm in deep work. But if I'm like, oh, that's Holly, I haven't talked to her in a while, and I get excited and pick up the phone and want to say hi, that's a good sign. If I go, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're calling again, what do they want now? That's the first sign that they should go. Same thing, if you see an email, you're like, oh my gosh. If you have somebody who's arguing with you all of the time, same thing. And we had a client, and I tried, because I hadn't fired anybody before Ron. Ron Baker is the one, he said, Tanya, you need to fire. So he challenged me to fire my first client. But before that, I turned around, I used to put in PITA fees. I think we all know what PITA fees are, but I used to include a PITA fee. And so I had somebody who was with me. He did not value what we offered. And he was one of those people that if he owed somebody $2, he would walk in and hand them $2 in pennies just to be a pain in the butt. Hopefully I could say but. Anyway, but so it was the same thing. He would constantly question. He didn't value my time. He didn't care about his own time, but he didn't value my time. And he kept pushing until he got what he felt was the right value. His time came up. We repriced him and I doubled his price. I thought that would do it. Nope. His office manager made him sign back in because his office manager was great to deal with. But I was dealing with the owner more often than not. And the owner, just all he did was he doubled down on the questions. I would answer it. I would have to go into CRA and give back. And here's where it proves it. So I had to constantly justify my answers and my job and what we were doing. And that was my big lesson that, again, I learned there. If there's somebody who does not trust me to that point where they are constantly questioning, I usually do respond when I respond back, especially if somebody's received different answers from different people. I usually do include the link to prove this is where it's come from, right on CRA website or IRS or something. I usually include that. And I get people questioning, well, so-and-so told me this. Okay, fine, here's the proof. But if they're constantly questioning, constantly, arguing with you, again, they're not a right fit for you. We work electronically. You have to take your pictures and submit everything up through Dext is who we use. Mm-hmm. And so if people don't want to use that and they just want to drop off, okay, you know what? I might take them and we'll put them up there the first time, as long as they're willing to adapt those those habits and submit everything right away. I don't want to be chasing people because that takes a lot of our time to constantly chase people for answers. So we want to work with somebody who wants to be as caught up and efficient and give us the answers as best as we do. What are some other things? Personality is huge. I want somebody again that I can enjoy, that I can see myself sitting down and having a cup of tea with or a glass of wine. So their personality is huge on that. We need to see that we get along. It's just, you just have to trust your gut. And every time we found somebody, we revised our questionnaire to include something that might help us see what type of person that person was. So again, if we see that they need a lot more handholding, we don't have the time to handhold. We don't have the time for people who don't want to get us everything, and then all of a sudden at the end of the year or the end of the quarter give us everything. That's not how it works with us. So again, we come up with different questions to try to pinpoint the personality type, and we're constantly tweaking those questions, because if you can find out in advance, great. And, like you said, there's a client in the past 6 months, I fired $6,000 a year worth of, or $6,000 a month worth of clients. I am fortunate that through COVID and not traveling, we were able to up our bank account to the point where we have 6 months of bills and salaries and everything sitting in there. So I could do that without replacing them. And now I have, by the end of July, it'll all be replaced with better people and better clients. As far as I'm concerned, people that just, we've just connected a little bit better.
Got it. Thank you so much. I want to take a quick break here. We have a question from Chantal, Tanya, about your website. If you can share it in the comments, that would be great.
Yep, absolutely. I'll share that. And then the link to the YouTube channel is there. I believe in educating. If you don't know me, there's a ton of videos on there that have a ton of education. So, go in, take a look at all of them. And I don't believe in trying to sell. I believe, again, that we need to support each other. So they are not sales videos. I promise you that.
All right, great. And we have another question. Can you see it in the comment section?
Yep, there. I just put it in there. And there's that's the link to our YouTube channels in there. So, okay. So the question here, do I have resources to help Canadian bookkeepers serve US clients? I'm just going to stop right there. There's a lot of education that you need to have when you serve US clients. I will not serve US clients. I will only service HST, because we're in HST province here in Ontario. I will not even service clients that are in a PST province, simply because I know it is very, very different. On the US side, there's a lot of information. There are federal tax returns or federal taxes that have to be charged out. Some of them have statewide taxes. Some of them have even municipal and local. So there is a lot to know. So if you do want to go in and start serving US clients, same thing about, US trying to, come in and serve Canadian clients. The US deal a lot more with cash-based instead of accrual-based. Of course, up here, we're mostly accrual-based. So there's a lot of differences. And then when you get down there, the last thing you want to do is open yourself up for liability and give wrong advice. So if you do have somebody in Canada, for example, who is selling on Amazon or Shopify or something like that, you can reach out to either, there's Avalara. I think Avalara is the name of it, depending on what you're doing, or even partner with somebody, partner with an accountant or another bookkeeper to use for a little bit of consulting services who's in that state, because things are so different and you don't want to open yourself up for the liability. To go on here, QBACA is very different tax-wise from QBO US. Absolutely. And you can tell I service US clients. I don't service any US clients, but I was assuming, I know Successful Bookkeeper does have bookkeepers, both IRS and CRA. So all I have to say is that it is very, very important to look at what you're doing. Again, get that knowledge, because you don't want to find out afterwards when you're potentially liable. So that's huge. So again, do that. Like there's, Florida, I know is actually one of the easier states to work with because Florida only has a federal tax. That is it. There's nothing else. But if I were to take on somebody in Florida, what I would do is I would actually reach out. There's Jessica Fox, who is actually a good friend of mine in there, and she's Florida virtual bookkeeper. And her and I, we talk weekly. I would reach out to her because I trust her and say, you know what, can we maybe help with this? And can I do some consulting because I don't want to do things wrong? And that's always been big with me. When I first got into the industry, I actually did work with a local bookkeeper. I mentored under her, and I would not give the books back to the client until I had her check them over every month, just simply because I wanted to make sure that I was doing things right. My background of insurance, I am hugely always thinking about the liability issues. So just like I say, please do that. Partner with somebody, because Avalara will do the taxes. They won't necessarily, they'll just pull the taxes. They are expensive. I'll say that they are expensive. You might not have the budget for that, or your client might not have the budget for that. But they're not going to tell you that, oh, yes, you're going out into that state, you should start charging these taxes. It's not like that. It'll just, you have to tell them what states and what taxes, and it will pull and pay them. So again, just that knowledge, just please make sure that you're educated on that. There we go.
Yeah, there's one more. Yeah, you see.
Oh,
yeah, one question.
there's
yeah,
Jessica Fox. Dave knows Jessica Fox. Thank you. That's amazing. Yeah. And you will find that there are a lot of people that are willing to help. Jessica, I think she's come up the same way, as myself and a lot of you, that she doesn't have that classroom education. So, there's a lot, and she is one of those that is constantly willing to help. And there are so many more. She just popped into my mind because I know Florida that's why she lives in Florida, because it's the easiest and there's only one tax. And we've talked about that. And how detailed should your invoices be, Marian? I'm not sure what you mean on that. Oh, thank you. I don't want to pronounce your name wrong. Yui? I'm so sorry. I'm going to butcher your name, but thank you for saying that. But it just, there's a ton of people. Like I said, Michael's got a great community here and whatnot. There's so many more. I've got a Facebook group that anybody can join that there's no sales in. Anita's part of it. I'm not sure if Michael, any of you guys are part of it, but it's Bookkeeper's Corner group. Okay, perfect. Thank you. My pronunciation is correct. That's the worst thing. I don't want to butcher names. My name is pronounced differently than it's spelled, so I'm sensitive to that. But yeah, Bookkeeper's Corner group, that is my group. I'm the one, the admin on it, and there's no sales, and it's for support. So please feel free to go in there. And there's a lot of people. Jessica's a part of that that's willing to help out as well too. Canada, we've got QBHQ. There's, the Get Into It. So there's a lot of those, but again, just make sure if you don't know, find out where you can get the information, and the education is the biggest thing, because if you go in, and it happened to me, I can speak from experience. I did not realize how difficult construction clients were. We still have a construction client, but there was very, very quickly, I had to go and do a lot of research because they were depending on the answers that I give them. And so this is just the biggest thing. You don't have to have the classroom education, but there are a lot of places where you can do that research. So I just suggest when you go into those, ask anybody, just say, where can I find this? Don't just ask and go with that answer, because sometimes people will still put in the wrong answer. So just say, hey, where does anybody have a great place where I can go to research more on construction clients in whatever province or whatever state, or, restaurant clients. I went wrong with the mechanic as well too. So, different things, because I didn't do that research ahead of time. So look at that stuff. But anyway, sorry. So Marian, your question was, how detailed should the invoices be? If you could just maybe type in kind of what you were getting at that. I know our invoices that we send out, if you're talking with our value pricing or our right sizing, whichever we call it, fixed pricing, first off, I don't invoice. I do a sales receipt because I have the money come out on the beginning of the month. This is something I believe as bookkeepers we should be doing, so that way we're getting paid. We have cash flow. Think about it. Your cell phone company does it. Your insurance company does it. Your TV company does it. All of these companies have been doing it, pulling it out in advance. lawyers take a retainer. We are one of the last professions to do that. So that's something that I truly believe we should be doing. But so I have a sales receipt that comes out. I have a pre-authorized debit. I use Rotessa. There's several other options that you can use. I just prefer using them for Canada. Have the money come out automatically from their bank account. And I just simply put fixed monthly price as per agreement. That's it. Don't need to get into that. Just simple like that. And their agreement has all the details on their pricing.
Great. Thank you
Yep.
so much. I
Okay.
think we covered that.
Yep.
We have 10 minutes left.
Okay.
So yeah, to wrap things up, just wanted to ask you about your experience with LiveFlow. Actually, I've never asked like how you presented it to your first client. I remember you had a free trial and then you said, okay, I needed to like present it to someone. And then I would come back and tell you like how it is to work with LiveFlow, and then you subscribe. So what was that like? Who was the client? Like, I don't need the names, but maybe the type and what they wanted to see that you needed just to create a custom dashboard rather than a standard QBO report.
Absolutely. So first, I want to say that you guys, Anita, you and your team have been absolutely amazing in helping to create those custom dashboards. I am not an Excel guru. Thank goodness they are. And Anita's like, here, try this. And I'm like, oh, it doesn't work. I think I broke it. So they went and did one. And so just like, okay, copy and paste, which is wonderful. The custom reports, they're great. I don't like my clients in QuickBooks. Clients get in there and they start to muck things about. They, and even if they have report access, then they're like, well, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? I want to start doing this. So I love that LiveFlow, first off, is a dashboard that we can give them access to and keep them out of QuickBooks. It works with Google Sheets. So what I do is I just set up a Google folder, give clients access to the Google folder so the clients can go in and grab it anytime they want. And it's what information do they want? So what Anita's talking about is the customized one is I needed a report that was way more customized than QBO could even give. And with working with Google Sheets, we basically have, so that they are a cleaning company and they have a residential, a vacation or resort cleaning, and a commercial cleaning side. So they have 3 classes. And at that time, what we did is I wanted to see not just by class, but she wanted it broken down by month so she could see how each class was doing. So essentially, we've got the profit and loss. So we've got a bunch of extra Google Sheets, one pulling the main profit, the main P&L, one pulling from each of the classes, and then it's all consolidated onto the original dashboard. And I think we ended up with probably about 6 or 7 like extra. Anita's sharing it now, which is great. But we ended up with a few extras. Yes, exactly.
Yep.
So, and this is it. And this is the good thing. And then you can hide all those other sheets. You can lock them so the clients can't access them. And it custom fills. So now if the client wants to go in anytime, we can set it so this updates, I think, either once an hour or every time you connect. So every time the client connects, I set it up and it is accurate with everything that is in QuickBooks.
Yeah, that's right. That was the case. I just didn't remember the specifics. But basically what we did, we just built a template on top of that. So Tanya was so inspirational. So we decided to add it to the library of our templates, which you can use for free. And you can just find those reports that are right for you. So we learned first that the standard P&L wasn't really fit. And we needed to carve out certain classes and look at these classes back to back. So essentially, this template is here, and it is explained like step by step what you need to do with the video in here. So for Tanya, we just created standard P&Ls based on the class. So we carved out those classes in separate tabs, which is like a standard report from QBO that is refreshed in real time. So you can see that it was just refreshed, and indeed it is refreshed on an hourly basis. And then we look at the numbers until the end of the year. So whenever there is a new entry on QBO, it will be synced into Google Sheets automatically. So each of the classes, in this case, locations, Los Angeles, New York, and San Francisco are grouped here. And then in the P&L by class tab, we just look at these classes back to back on a monthly basis. And essentially, all you need to do is just copy the name of your class and paste it here. And what we did, we just created these complex formulas that will just rewrite all of the numbers for you. And you
Exactly.
don't need to exhaust yourself with writing formulas such as index match, indirect, and all of this stuff.
Because they know that stuff, which is amazing. So what I did is, yeah, we actually have, for this example for that client, we have two. We have last year, so that I never have to really go in and update unless we change the chart of accounts, and we have to go in and do a little bit of updating. But as long as the chart of accounts isn't changed, everything will pull in here for the last year, last fiscal year, and current fiscal year. And then so we essentially have double the tabs on our existing one, so that we can show both of those date ranges. And then I took the individual ones for the clients and I hid them. So all the client can see is the main dashboard.
Okay, got it. So essentially you would share a spreadsheet. Will they just look into the numbers? Like, will they drill down into these transactions, or they just see a dashboard and they don't touch anything?
Yeah. So right now, we've just got them just using the dashboard and not touching it. We have not gotten to the point of drilling down. I would prefer to work with them and use the drill down more on the advisory aspect of it. And that's where we can turn that in to advisory. So first off, the clients now have access to this. They can look, see all of this in one report. QuickBooks, nobody that I'm aware of can give all of this information in one report other than LiveFlow, which was absolutely amazing, because the client was frustrated that she was looking up multiple reports. So that was absolutely wonderful with that. And then I'm using, again, time permitting, which is why I'm not working as quickly as I would like to work, but time permitting, I will have all of the clients doing this. And then those that like, I'll either teach them to drill in and give them that access to be able to drill in so they can do it on their own, or ideally upgrade them so that we have maybe one appointment a quarter. So now we're doing the advisory services. We're upgrading their services, upping their price. How I do this is I give it to them for 3 months for free. It's my time,
okay.
3 months for free, or
It's
6 months for
well.
free.
Okay.
I give it to the clients as a trial, because I need to show them that where the value is, because a lot of them don't see that and they don't understand that. So we need to show them where the value is. And they're either going to say, you know what, I really didn't find that valuable. I really didn't need that, in which case that's fine. They can still go ahead and access this, or we can then at that point upgrade them and say, hey, if that helped your business and you like that, X number of dollars more a month for that.
Okay, got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And this, I think, is one of your most complex. So yes, now there's that library and there's many other ones, and you've got great dashboards. So again, you customize it and you just say to the client, another client that uses this and goes into this very frequently is a real estate agent. She goes in and she wants to look at things and she wants to pull things down. We have another report that is like an Ask Client report, or like a shareholders report that we've put up that, again, only pulls one portion of the P&L, which again, I could do in QuickBooks, but it's not updated in real time when it sends out to the clients, unless the client logs into QuickBooks and pulls the report, and then they get lost pulling it, and again, they get moving around. So we have that. We have our Ask Client sheet set up as one of the tabs here, so they can go in, they can see, and we have actually given them a section where they can respond back as well. Again, using the functionality of and the collaboration of Google Sheets.
Okay, I'll just quickly show you, guys, what Tanya means here. So basically, you can launch LiveFlow from extensions in Google Sheets. So essentially, it sits here, add-ons, get add-ons, and you can find all sorts of tools that can help you to be more productive. So LiveFlow is one of them. You just install LiveFlow to the sheets. They will appear, the product will appear on the extensions. And from here, you essentially set up your own dashboards and any types of reports that you want for your clients, and you can drill down into those numbers. Essentially, you can connect as many companies as you wish. So if you need to work, let's say, with real estate agents where they have multiple entities, you can connect all of those entities, and you can build a consolidated report, a P&L report, balance sheet, any type of report. And then what Tanya meant, you can just slice and dice the report the way you want. Instead of just saying P&L by month, you can say P&L by, for example, class in this case, and then you can apply all sorts of things. So for instance, you want to look only at uncategorized expenses in here. You can filter by account type, class, customer, project, etc. So it's truly yours, and you can just set it up the way you want. And then essentially what we do, we just go to Qubio, we use the API, pull all of these reports the way you want to see them. into Google Sheets. And then you can see that these are the classes that we looked at, Los Angeles and San Francisco. And then I only pulled uncategorized expenses. And if I want to drill down, I go to the drill down tab, and I can always talk to my client and ask them what exactly happened here. They can see all of the underlying transactions right in Google Sheets without going to QBO and messing the data. Then, as Tanya said, you can create like a comment column in here, right in between. It's totally fine. We will not break anything. And then you can just chat with them about these transactions and clear them, and the reports are ready for you.
Well,
so that's LiveFlow in brief.
Yeah, and we took it one step further. Again, had to reach out to Anita and her team to figure that out. But when we got into the detail, the drill down for the uncategorized expense or the ask client or the shareholder, they also taught us how to filter out certain things, because if I showed the shareholders report, for example, I didn't want everything to be shown up there. I only wanted certain things. So we created a specific phrase that we would put in the description, and then we could take it one step further and filter by that description. So it's absolutely amazing. Like say, Anita and the team, everything I've thrown at them, they're like challenge accepted, and it's amazing. It really is.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and something to add here, we do love challenges. So if you have like any particular tasks for your client and you don't know how to figure it out, throw it at us. Because we love formulas, we love Google Sheets, Excel, and to pull things from QuickBooks, obviously. So if you have any particular thing that you need to solve, you can just do it during the free trial. We'll look into this for you. You don't need to pay, just see whether we can solve the problem for you and your client so that you can have more time for yourself.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And just to throw it there too, I am paying for the unlimited or like for the package of clients that I have, but I've still only used it on about 4 or 5 because I haven't had the time to get to the others, but it is still absolutely worth every penny that I'm paying. So it's something, because I know I will get all the clients on it, get them out of QuickBooks, and be able to customize it to get them the information they need. And again, to be able to work better with them.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And for the successful bookkeeper, we have a special offer. It's 20% off for 3 months. So if you want to use the product, give it a go, see whether it's for you or not, and then you can just apply the discount through the link here. I'll just share it in the chat. Yeah, in here. Here we go.
Here we go.
All right. Do we have any questions left? I know we're running out of time.
Yeah, I went over. I talk a lot. Sorry, everybody. I obviously get very passionate about things, but no, I've answered all the questions so far in here. And of course, anybody can feel free to reach out. Michael knows where to reach me. Anita knows where to reach me. So if anybody does, it's all in there. And yeah, anytime. But again, just community. You've got a great community here, and I just can't say enough about the community. So just support each other.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and goodbye, everyone.
All right.
Goodbye.
Thanks. Take care. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Bye.